Every morning, millions of people do the same tiny thing. They wake up, pull the blanket, fix the pillows, and turn a messy bed into a perfectly organized one. It takes maybe 2 minutes, and somehow we're told that those 2 minutes can make us more disciplined, more productive, and maybe even more successful. But here's the strange part. Where's the proof? Does making your bed actually change the rest of your day? Or does it simply give you the feeling that you've already accomplished something? Because maybe the benefit isn't the bed at all. Maybe it's what your brain thinks that bed represents. The idea didn't come from nowhere. One of the most famous stories behind this habit came from a 2014 speech by William McRaven, a former U.S. Navy SEAL and admiral. His message was simple. If you want to change the world, start by making your bed every morning. The logic is easy to understand. Complete one small task, then complete another, then another. And eventually, those small actions create momentum. It's a powerful story because everyone can understand it. You don't need money. You don't need special equipment. You don't even need motivation. You just need a bed. But there's an important distinction. A powerful story isn't the same thing as scientific proof. McRaven was sharing a lesson from his experience. He wasn't presenting a controlled experiment showing that people who make their beds become more productive. And somewhere along the way, a simple life lesson became a much bigger claim. Make your bed, become disciplined, become successful. That's where we need to slow down. So, if making your bed isn't a magic productivity trick, why does it feel so good? Maybe we don't actually care about the bed. Maybe we care about the feeling of completion. Think about your first few minutes after waking up. You haven't answered an email. You haven't finished a project. You haven't solved a single major problem. But then you make your bed. And suddenly there's one thing you can point to and say, done. That tiny moment can feel surprisingly satisfying. And it doesn't have to be your bed. You could wash a cup, fold a shirt, open the curtains, clear your desk. The action itself may not be magical. What may matter is starting your day with an intentional action and getting immediate feedback that you've completed something. So perhaps the real habit isn't make your bed. It's start with something you can finish. Now we need to separate what sounds logical from what has actually been tested. Here's the uncomfortable part. There isn't a strong, randomized controlled trial showing that making your bed every morning directly makes you more productive for the rest of the day. A lot of the popular evidence comes from surveys, and surveys can tell us something interesting. They can show that people who make their beds may also report feeling more productive or organized. But there's a problem. Correlation isn't causation. Maybe making the bed causes people to become more productive. Or maybe productive, organized people are simply more likely to make their beds. Or maybe both behaviors come from a third factor, having a structured routine. That's a completely different story. And this is why we should be careful whenever someone says, science proves that making your bed makes you successful. Based on the evidence we have, that's much stronger than the research allows us to say. And here's where the story gets even more interesting. You've probably heard another popular idea. A tidy environment makes you more disciplined, while a messy environment makes you more creative. It sounds almost perfect. Clean room, productivity. Messy room, creativity. There was real research behind part of this idea. A 2013 study by Kathleen Vose and colleagues reported interesting differences between orderly and disorderly environments. The findings became popular far beyond the scientific world. But then researchers tried to reproduce the creativity finding, and the later replication didn't find the same statistically significant difference. That's a much more important lesson than whether messy rooms are good or bad. Science can change its mind. One study can give us a clue. Replication tells us whether that clue survives another test. So now we have a strange situation. The people saying, you must make your bed, and the people saying, messy rooms make you creative, may both be using evidence that's more complicated than their headlines suggest. But there's another reason people argue about making the bed. Dust mites. While you sleep, your body produces heat and moisture can create a more favorable environment for dust mites. Research from the University of Kingston suggested that leaving bedding uncovered could reduce humidity and make conditions less favorable for mites. Sounds like a reason to stop making your bed, right? Not so fast. This was based on a model of humidity and mite survival, not a simple real-world experiment showing that leaving your bed messy dramatically improves your health. And if you're concerned about allergens, things like washing bedding and using appropriate protective covers can matter much more. So once again, don't turn a small effect into a giant health claim. I didn't make my bed today. I'm lazy. I'm undisciplined. I'm already failing my morning. Imagine you're exhausted. You barely slept. You're already running late. You have an important class, meeting, or appointment. But instead of leaving, you feel guilty because your bed isn't perfect. You start fixing the pillows, pulling the blanket, straightening every corner. A 2-minute habit has suddenly become a source of pressure. That's when habit becomes harm. But the opposite can be just as silly. You don't need to say, I don't make my bed because I'm a creative person. It's just a bed. It's a tool. If it helps you start your day intentionally, keep it. If you need 5 more minutes of sleep one morning, skip it. Discipline isn't following a ritual at any cost. Test it yourself. Try a simple 7-day experiment. For the first 3 days, make your bed immediately after waking up. Every evening, rate 3 things from 1 to 5. Your morning energy, how many important tasks you actually completed, and how good your day felt overall. Then for the next 3 days, don't make your bed. Keep everything else as similar as possible. Then compare the results. But here's the important part. Don't only ask, did I feel more productive? Ask, did I actually do more? Because feeling productive and being productive aren't necessarily the same thing. And after 7 days, you might discover something much more interesting than whether your bed should be made. You might discover what kind of morning actually works for you. So, does making your bed every morning actually matter? The honest answer is, it can. But probably not for the reason you think. We don't have strong enough evidence to say that making your bed automatically makes you more productive for the rest of the day. But it can give you a simple sense of completion. It can make your environment feel more organized. And it can help you begin the morning with an intentional action. If that works for you, keep doing it. But if you skip it one morning, don't turn an unmade bed into evidence that you're a failure. The bed doesn't define your discipline. And maybe that's the real lesson. The value isn't necessarily in making the bed. It's in understanding why you're doing it. Because the best habit isn't the one that looks impressive. It's the one that actually helps you live better. So tell me, does making your bed actually improve your day? Or is it overrated?